Hi, just a quick video introduction to tell you a few things about the midterm. So the midterm will be here in week 8. Here it is. I've got it hidden for now, but it'll be available as of the beginning of the week. And so yeah, it's just this document here with instructions and questions. And just like a regular assignment, you type your answers somewhere else and then save them or copy and paste them. And then you click up here to turn it in, just like a regular assignment. And you scroll down and you can either write your answers here. I think copying and pasting them into this field would be best. Or if you want, you can attach them as a file here and then click submit. Now for the exam itself, so yeah, it's due at the end of the week, 11/1 by 11:59 p.m. It says basically there will be a late penalty if it's late, unless you have made prior arrangements with me. And yeah, if you do need more time, just definitely send me an email and let me know. And definitely email me as well if you have any questions. This part, the instructions, it says all answers must come from class materials, lectures, videos, and readings. So in other words, don't, if you do Google something, don't just take what you find off the internet and put it in. Make sure you use the information that we've covered in class to actually answer your questions. And yeah, it's a good time to say too, if there's a question that you don't know how to answer, you can email me that and I will point you in the right direction. So yeah, no credit for outside information. Do write and complete sentences. And then this whole part here, basically, if you know someone else in the class and you want to discuss the questions, that's fine, but make sure to write your own answers. And I think similar to that, if you do find information on the internet or something, or even in one of the sources we've covered, don't just copy it word for word, put it into your own words. Okay, so this time there's just 2 sections, the identification section and the short answer section. So no essay or anything else like that. And so in this identification section, there are 13 terms here. Let's see, we've got wars, we've got sort of concepts, we've got people, events, all kinds of stuff. And you answer 8 out of the 13, so they're 10 points each. And so for each one, basically all you're doing is telling me a lot of information about the terms that you pick. One way people often describe an identification question is to answer the who, what, when, where, and why in 3 to 4 sentences. And this is the same thing sort of written out. It says for each term you choose, clearly explain or define the person, event, or thing mentioned in the ID question, then make sure to detail who was involved, when the person, thing, or event happened or lived, and finally what is its significance to U.S. history. So basically, pick these terms, the 8 that you want to do. I think they're all in the book. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are all actually in the book. They may be mentioned other places too. And then just try to answer each of these questions. Who was involved, when and where was it, and more information about why it's significant. So hopefully that won't be too hard at all. The book does have an index in the back, so you should be able to find, I believe, absolutely every one of these in that index, so then you can find exactly where it is. If you have the ebook version, you can look in the index, and then if you click on it, it'll take you right to the correct page, so that's even easier. Okay, and then finally, the second section is only worth 20 points. There's 3 questions here, and you just answer 2 out of the 3, and they're worth 10 points each, and I think 4 to 6 sentences for these should be fine. So the first one says, with the American Revolution, a change occurs from claiming rights as freeborn Englishmen to claiming universal inborn rights. Our textbook argues that this change is extremely significant in world history, even if the Founding Fathers largely excluded women and people of color from these rights. Explain why. So this I've mentioned in my, I think 1, maybe 2 of my lectures, but also it's definitely in the book. I think several of the chapters talk about rights. Before the Revolution, they talk about the English Civil War, and then rights expanding for men of property in England, and then for the, sort of like the colonists as they're agitating for liberty, expanding their claim for rights, and then in the chapter on the Revolution itself, an even larger claiming of universal rights, for men at the time. And then in the Revolutionary Chapter 2, it talks about why these rights might be important for people who are excluded from it at the time. Okay, question 2. the textbook's author, Eric Foner, writes that for women in the United States at the time of the American Revolution, the marriage contract superseded the social contract. What does he mean by this? So this is in, I believe it's the Revolution Within. I believe it's that chapter. It's definitely one of the 2 chapters on the American Revolution. It talks specifically about women and how the revolution affects them. So that's where you find most of the answer. But if you don't know what the social contract is, that's definitely something you can look up, you can Google, but also I believe it's described earlier in the book. So look up those terms. And then finally, explain the argument that liberalism, with its emphasis on private property, justified the theft of native land in U.S. history. So this has come up a few times. I believe it's come up in the Indigenous Peoples History book. It's definitely, if you look up John Locke and liberalism, that'll give you some pages in the textbook that'll explain this a bit too, about why private property is an important part of the philosophy of liberalism. And then if you look at the sections on native land theft, and I guess the different ways, I know early in the textbook it talks about how native peoples viewed land versus how Europeans viewed land. And so really a big hint here is all about what is the justification used by Europeans to see land that they know people are living on for centuries and to argue that that land can be rightfully taken from those people. That's really what the question is getting at. Okay, so hopefully that is helpful. Definitely email me at any time with questions, or if you need some extra time for any sort of decent reason, contact me about that.